there's a specific kind of exhaustion that settles deep in your bones after a 12-hour shift in the emergency room. It's more than just physical tiredness, more than aching feet and a sore back. It's an emotional depletion, a psychic weight. You absorb from being the thin, sterile-gloved line between order and chaos for other people's worst days. You spend your hours running on adrenaline and caffeine, making life or death decisions in seconds, comforting the grieving, calming the hysterical, and fixing what is broken. Then you walk out into the pre-dawn gloom, the sterile smell of antiseptic and rubbing alcohol still clinging to your scrubs, and the silence of the empty parking garage feels like a physical blow. All I can think about, all I want in the entire world, is a scalding hot shower and 8 hours of blessed, silent, dreamless sleep. My name is Chloe Evans. I'm 31 years old, and I am a nurse. My entire life, my entire profession, is built around this single premise. I fix what is broken. I care for the vulnerable. I absorb the pain of others so they can begin to heal. It's a role I was trained for long before I ever set foot in nursing school. My family was my first residency. I slide into the driver's seat of my 10-year-old Honda, the fabric cool against my tired skin. The car sputters to life, and my phone automatically buzzes, connecting to the car's Bluetooth. The screen lights up with an incoming call. The name on the screen makes my stomach clench with a familiar, weary tightness. Mom. I almost let it go to voicemail. My thumb hovers over the red decline button, a tiny portal to a few more hours of peace. But a lifetime of conditioned duty, a reflex as ingrained as checking a patient's pulse, takes over. I press the green button. "Hi, Mum," I say, my voice rough with a fatigue she will not hear. "Chloe, darling, I was hoping I'd catch you." Her voice chirps, impossibly bright and energetic. For 6 a.m., it always is. It's a performance of relentless cheerfulness that implicitly demands you match its energy, no matter how drained you are. To be tired in her presence is to be a disappointment. "I just got off my shift," I say, a gentle reminder of my reality. "You poor thing, you work so hard," she says, the sympathy fleeting, a box to be checked before moving on to the real reason for her call. "Listen, I have the most wonderful, wonderful news. Your father and I have decided we're doing it. The whole family is going to Maui for a week." I blink, my sleep-deprived brain struggling to process the information. "Maui, when is this?" "In 3 weeks. Your father found this absolutely incredible deal on a villa at a 5-star resort in Wailea. It's got a private infinity pool, an ocean view from every room. It's going to be divine. Just the escape we all need after such a stressful year." We, the collective pronoun. In my family, we is a complicated term. It usually means my mother, Lydia, my father, Robert, my older sister, Amelia, and her husband, a slick financial advisor named Ethan. The 4 of them form the core unit. I am a satellite, orbiting at a distance, sometimes pulled into their gravitational field when my resources are required. "Wow. Mum," I manage to say, the words tasting like caution. "That sounds really expensive." And then comes the line. The line she has perfected over years of practice. The one that is so casually, so skillfully delivered. It's become the unofficial family motto for any event, trip, or celebration I can't afford. "Well, yes, darling," she says with a light, tinkling laugh that is meant to sound breezy and unconcerned. It is a bit of a splurge. So, we were all talking, and we decided that if the cost is a little too much for you right now, with your budget and all, you can just sit this one out. We'll absolutely understand. No hard feelings. No hard feelings. The 3 most passive-aggressive words in the English language. It's not an offer of understanding. It's a dismissal. It's a preemptive strike that frames my financial reality, the reality of a nurse who pays her own rent and student loans, versus a family cushioned by my father's executive salary as a personal failing. It's a polite way of saying, you can't afford to keep up with us. And then, before I can even begin to process the sting of that casual exclusion, comes the pivot. The whiplash-inducing turn that is the signature move of our dynamic. But speaking of flights, she continues, not missing a single beat. Your father and I were looking at the options, and we were hoping you could do us a little favor. We'd absolutely love to upgrade to business class. You know how your father's legs get on those long flights, and we're just a little bit short on the card. It would be a huge help, sweetie. You can just count it as our anniversary gift. Their anniversary is in 6 months. I am so tired, so utterly worn down by the 12 hours behind me and the lifetime of conversations just like this one, that I can't summon the energy to argue. The fight feels heavier than my own exhaustion. I'll see what I can do, Mom, I murmur, the words of surrender tasting like ash in my mouth. It's the path of least resistance, the path I always take just to end the call, just to get a moment of peace. You're an absolute lifesaver, darling, the best daughter. Talk soon. She chirps and hangs up. Her mission accomplished. I drive the rest of the way home in a thick fog of weary resentment. It's the same old story, the same unending cycle. I am the family's responsible one, the sensible one with the steady, non-glamorous, essential job. I am also, by unspoken agreement, the family's emergency fund, their safety net, their human line of credit. My responsible choices have created a pool of resources they see as communal property. It's only when I get home, after I've peeled off my scrubs and I'm standing under the scalding hot spray of the shower, letting the water wash away the hospital, but not the bitterness, that a sudden, sick feeling lurches in my stomach. A forgotten detail, an offhand comment from a few months ago. My mother had needed to book a hotel for a weekend trip. Her own credit card was acting up, she'd said. I'd given her my card number over the phone. A stupid, trusting mistake. She'd paid me back for the hotel, but I remember her saying, I'll just jot this down, sweetie. You know, just in case of a real emergency. My heart starts to pound against my ribs, a frantic, trapped bird. I turn off the water, the sudden silence of the bathroom roaring in my ears. I wrap a towel around myself and grab my phone from the counter, my fingers slick with water. I open my banking app, my breath held tight in my chest, a prayer on my lips. Please, no. Please, no. And there it is. At the top of the transaction list, a pending charge from Hawaiian Airlines. Not for one ticket, not for two. For round-trip tickets from Los Angeles to Maui. Total charge, $4,872. They didn't even buy me a ticket for the trip. They were so graciously allowing me to sit this one out of they just stole my money to pay for their own passage to paradise. The sheer, breathtaking arrogance of it. The casual, smiling, brutal theft, executed by the people who were supposed to love me most. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a favor. This was grand larceny. And it wasn't just a drop that made the cup overflow. It was the entire goddamn ocean. For a long moment, I just stand there in my damp towel on the cold bathroom tile, staring at the numbers glowing on the screen. $4,872. The number repeats in my head, a litany of betrayal. That's 3 months of my car payments. It's my entire emergency savings fund, the one I diligently contribute to with every paycheck. It's the money I was slowly, painfully saving for a down payment on a small condo, a dream of having a space that is truly my own, a dream they always patronizingly referred to as Chloe's little project. My first instinct, the one conditioned by 30 years of rigorous, intensive training, is to absorb it. It's a reflex. To sigh, to complain to a friend, and then to quietly move money from my savings account to my checking account to cover the charge. To let the anger and the injustice fester inside me, a silent, untreated tumor, while I maintain the fragile family peace. That's what I've always done. I am the shock absorber. I am designed to take the impact so they can continue their journey with a smooth, untroubled ride. I am the nurse who patches up the family's self-inflicted financial wounds. But not this time. Something inside me, something I thought was long dead and buried under years of compliance and people-pleasing, snaps. It's a clean, sharp, audible break. It's the 12 hours of saving other people's lives. It's the casual cruelty of my mother's words. It's the cold, hard, digital evidence of grand larceny, displayed in the cheerful blue and white of my banking app. I don't cry. I don't scream. I feel a wave of something else entirely. A glacial, liberating rage. It's a feeling so pure and so powerful, it feels like a superpower. It doesn't cloud my vision. It clarifies it. It doesn't make me weak. It makes me strong. It stiffens my spine. I walk out of the bathroom and sit down at my small kitchen table, my wet towel leaving a dark, spreading patch on the wooden chair. I pull up the credit card transaction again, looking at it with new eyes. The charge is still listed as pending. My fingers move with a newfound purpose, a precision I usually reserve for finding a difficult vein. I tap on the transaction. A menu of options appears. Report a problem. Dispute charge. View details. I press dispute charge. A new screen appears. Reason for dispute. The options are listed like a multiple choice question on the test of my life. Item not received. Billed for wrong amount. Fraudulent charge. My finger hovers for a second, then presses fraudulent charge. With a satisfying firmness, a text box appears. Please provide details of this fraudulent activity. My thumbs, which are usually so gentle, so careful, fly across the virtual keyboard with a furious speed. I did not authorize this charge. For airline tickets were purchased by family members who obtained my credit card information under false pretenses and used it without my permission. This is theft. I hit submit. A confirmation screen appears. Your dispute has been submitted. The charge will be reversed, pending investigation by our fraud department. I feel a tremor of power run through me, a feeling so foreign it's almost frightening. But I'm not done. I navigate back to the main card settings. Lock card. Freeze all future transactions. I press it. Another confirmation screen. My credit card is now a useless piece of plastic. The ATM is officially closed for business. The final step. My phone buzzes with an incoming message. I know without a doubt that my family is at the airport, ready for their triumphant departure. The text is from my sister, Amelia. It is a perfect encapsulation of her entire personality, breathtakingly entitled, impatient, and utterly, blissfully oblivious to any reality but her own. Hey, we're at the check-in kiosk at LAX, and it's saying the flight isn't paid for. The agent is being useless. Can you call the credit card company and fix it? We're going to miss our boarding for our flight to Maui. Fix it. The two words that have defined my role in this family. Fix it, Chloe. As if I'm the on-call technician for their lives. I stare at her message, at the casual, unthinking assumption that I am sitting by my phone, waiting to solve her problems. I think about my mother's words on the phone just hours earlier. The words that were meant to put me in my place, to gently remind me of my lower status in the family. Hierarchy. If the cost is a little too much for you right now, you can just sit this one out. My reply is short. It is cold. It is a thing of beauty. It is the truest sentence I have ever written. As Mum suggested, I'm sitting this one out. You're on your own. Have a great flight. I hit send, and for the first time in my entire adult life, with a sense of profound and terrifying freedom, I hold down the power button on my phone and turn it off. The screen goes black. The silence that follows is not the hollow, expectant silence of before. It's the clean, powerful, and deeply satisfying silence of a revolution that has just begun. I sleep for 10 uninterrupted hours, a deep, dreamless, and profoundly restorative sleep, the kind I usually only dream of. It feels like my body and mind are finally purging a lifetime of accumulated toxins. When I turn my phone back on the next afternoon, it explodes. It's a digital detonation of rage, panic, and manipulative hysteria. 32 missed calls from Amelia, my mother, my father, and even my brother-in-law Ethan. 21 voicemails. Over 50 text messages. For a moment, I'm tempted to just delete them all, to not even engage. But a different part of me, a new, curious, almost clinical part, wants to see it, to study their tactics. I don't listen to the voicemails. I don't need to. I can imagine their contents, the yelling, the crying, the accusations. Instead, I scroll through the text messages, a detached observer studying the predictable textbook stages of a narcissist's rage when their supply has been cut off. First, there was the confusion and annoyance from Amelia at the airport. Chloe, what the hell? I'm serious. The agent says the card was declined. Call them. Followed by, are you getting my texts? Pick up your phone. Then, as the reality slowly dawned on them that I wasn't going to swoop in and save them, came the rage. You stranded us at the airport. Are you insane? You have ruined this entire trip. We missed the flight. Dad had to put 4 new last-minute tickets on his Amex, and he was absolutely furious. You will be paying him back for this. The idea that I would be paying him back for tickets they tried to steal from me is so audacious, it's almost comical. Then came the coordinated attack from my mother, the master manipulator, the carefully crafted guilt trip. Chloe, I have never been so disappointed in you in my entire life. Your sister was in tears. Your father's first vacation in 3 years is ruined because you decided to be cruel and vindictive over a simple misunderstanding. I don't know what's gotten into you. A simple misunderstanding. That's what she called grand theft. And finally, the gaslighting. The attempt to rewrite reality and paint me as the unstable, irrational aggressor. You're always playing the victim, Chloe. It's exhausting for all of us. We are a family. We help each other. But you always have to make it into some big, dramatic production. You have a real martyr complex, and frankly, we're all tired of it. A martyr complex. From the people who had just stolen nearly $5,000 from me after explicitly excluding me from their trip. The audacity is breathtaking. It's a work of art. Late that afternoon, there's a sharp, insistent, authoritarian knock on my apartment door. I look through the peephole. It's my father, Robert. His face is grim, his jaw set in the stern, disappointed patriarch expression he reserves for my most severe transgressions. It's a look that has, in the past, been enough to make me crumble. He knocks again, harder this time, a rattling, percussive demand. Chloe, I know you're in there. Open the door, we are going to discuss this like adults. I don't move. My heart is pounding, a frantic drum against my ribs, but my resolve is like steel. The old Chloe would have opened the door, her stomach churning with anxiety, her mind already racing with apologies and excuses. She would have been ready to be lectured back into her designated role. The new Chloe recognizes this for what it is, not an invitation to a discussion, but a demand for my unconditional surrender. I stand in silence, my back pressed against the door, feeling its solidness, its reality. This door is my new boundary. It is my no-made manifest in wood and steel. I listen as he knocks and calls my name for what feels like an eternity, his voice shifting from authoritative to angry to frustrated. Finally, with a huff of exasperated breath, he gives up. His heavy, angry footsteps recede down the hall. They have lost direct control over me. They have lost financial control, and it is driving them absolutely, certifiably insane. They don't miss my money, not really. They have other money. What they miss, what they cannot stand to lose, is my compliance. The campaign of manipulation continues for days, but it's like they're shouting into a void. Their words, which once had the power to wound me, to fill me with doubt and guilt, now feel like pebbles thrown against a fortress wall. They bounce off, meaningless. I realize that engaging with them on an emotional level is a losing battle. It's their home turf. They wrote the rules of that game, and the rules are designed so that I can never win. So, I decide to change the game entirely. Instead of being worn down by their attacks, I feel a surge of defiant, focused energy. I will not be dragged into their swamp of guilt and accusations. I will reframe this entire conflict. I will transform it from a messy, subjective family drama into a clear, concise, and indisputable business transaction. I spend an entire Saturday at my kitchen table with my laptop and a stack of old credit card and bank statements that I've printed out from the online portals. I go back 5 years. I create a spreadsheet. I am methodical. I am precise. I am a forensic accountant of my own life, and the books are a mess. I comb through every statement, and the memories attached to each transaction rise to the surface. I remember every loan that was never repaid, every emergency that was never paid back, every casual "can you spot me" that became a permanent donation, every "I'll get you next time" that never came. Line item 1, $1,500. Loan for Amelia's car repair after she hit a curb. The lie was that it was a hit and run. The truth was she was texting, never repaid. Date, June 2021. Line item 2, $800. Contribution, for Mum's emergency root canal. I later saw the charge on her own card, the one I paid off for her, from a high-end cosmetic dermatology clinic. The root canal was Botox. Never repaid. Date, February 2022. Line item 3, $3,000. Investment, given to my brother-in-law Ethan for a hot real estate tip that would double in a month. The money, he later claimed with a shrug, got tied up in escrow. It simply vanished. Never repaid. Date, September 22. To the list goes on and on. It's a death by 1,000 cuts. The down payment on their new luxury SUV that I was guilted into chipping in for as a family contribution. The cost of their 35th anniversary dinner at a Michelin-starred restaurant that I proudly paid for, only to hear later that they told their friends Ethan had treated them. The small, constant, $1,000 leaks that I had plugged for years without a second thought because that was my job. When I am done, hours later, the final number at the bottom of the spreadsheet makes me feel physically ill. It's a number that represents so much more than money. It represents years of my hard work, my overtime shifts, my careful budgeting, excluding the stolen Maui tickets, which the credit card company has already reversed. My family owes me $21,650. I take the spreadsheet and I format it into a professional-looking invoice using a template online. I add a header with my name and address. I title it, in bold, capital letters, Invoice for Services Rendered and Loans. Outstanding, 2019 to 2024. At the bottom, in the notes section, I write, Payment in full, due in 30 days. Please remit payment to Chloe Evans at the address above. Effective immediately. All future financial support, loans, and contributions of any kind are permanently suspended. I save it as a PDF. I open our family group chat, the one that has been a toxic river of angry, unanswered messages. I don't type a single word. I just attach the PDF file and press send. The little paperclip icon appears in the chat history. The response is instantaneous silence. A stunned, shocked, digital silence. I have taken their primary weapon, emotional manipulation, and rendered it utterly useless. I have refused to fight on their battlefield of feelings and have instead dragged them, kicking and screaming, onto mine. A battlefield of receipts, of facts, of cold, hard, undeniable numbers. And on this field, for the first time in my life, they have no defense. The invoice creates a new kind of silence. Not the silence of a truce, but the charged, heavy silence of a cold war. They don't acknowledge the invoice. They don't respond to it. They just stop contacting me altogether. A part of me is profoundly relieved, but another part, the part that knows them, understands this is just a strategic retreat, not a surrender. They are regrouping, trying to figure out a new angle of attack against this version of me they don't recognize. In the quiet, I start to feel lighter. The constant, low-grade anxiety that has been my companion for my entire adult life begins to recede. I start therapy with a woman who listens without judgment and gives me words for my experience. Financial abuse, enmeshment, narcissistic family system. The words are keys, unlocking rooms in my own mind I was afraid to enter. I start saying yes, 2 invitations from friends I used to turn down because I was always on standby for a family crisis. About a month after I sent the invoice, I get a text from an unknown number. My first instinct is that it's one of them, using a new number to bypass my blocks. But the message is different. Hi Chloe, this is Jessica. We met a few times years ago when I was still married to Ethan. I know this is random, but I heard from a mutual friend about the falling out you had with your family. I think I might have a piece of the puzzle you're missing. Jessica, Ethan's ex-wife, the woman my family had painted as a bitter, unstable, greedy shrew after their messy divorce 4 years ago. The woman who, they claimed, had tried to take Ethan for everything he had. I'd never questioned their narrative. My curiosity, stronger than my caution, makes me text back. Hi Jessica, I remember you. Hope you're doing well. Her reply comes instantly. I'm doing great, now that I'm free of that family, and I want to help you be free too. Do you have time to talk tonight? We talk on the phone that evening. Her voice is calm, steady, and filled with a weary sadness that I instantly recognize. It's the voice of a fellow survivor. Chloe, she says, her voice low and serious. Your family didn't just support Ethan during our divorce. They enabled him. They financed him. And they lied to you about why. I feel a cold dread wash over me. What do you mean? I ask, though a dark part of me thinks it already knows the answer. The reason we divorced, she says, the secret no one was ever supposed to know, was that Ethan had a severe, secret gambling addiction, a bad one. He lost everything. Our savings, our retirement accounts, money he borrowed from his clients. Everything. The pieces start to fall into place with a sickening thud. The constant emergencies. The investments that vanished. After I left and froze our joint accounts, she continues, he was in deep with some very unsavory online bookies. He owed a lot of money, tens of thousands. Your father and mother knew. Amelia definitely knew. They panicked. They didn't want the shame of a gambling addict in their perfect family. They didn't want the family name dragged through the mud. So they made a plan to quietly bail him out. But they didn't have the liquid cash to do it without liquidating their own investments, which would have raised red flags. She pauses, and I can hear her take a deep breath. But you did. You were there, walking, talking, off the book's line of credit. A few days ago, she says, I was cleaning out an old external hard drive, and I found a folder of the financial documents my lawyer subpoenaed during the divorce discovery. Bank statements, and emails between Ethan and your sister. I thought you should see them. A few minutes later, an email from her arrives in my inbox. The subject line is simple: proof. I open the attached files. My hands are shaking. It's all there, in black and white. Scanned bank statements from a joint account belonging to my parents, showing large, regular wire transfers to a series of shady-looking offshore sports betting sites. And then, the emails. A string of frantic messages between Amelia and Ethan. One from my sister reads, Ethan, you have to stop. This is getting out of control. We can't keep doing this. Chloe is getting suspicious about all the emergencies. We've taken almost a 5K from her in the last 3 years to cover your losses. We can't bleed her dry forever. Ethan's glib, confident reply, just one more time, babe. I have a sure thing on the playoffs. I can win it all back, and we can pay her back, and she'll never have to know any of this happened. Just tell her your car broke down again. She always falls for that one. And the final, devastating email, the one that shatters my world into a million pieces. From my father, Robert, to my mother, Lydia. Lydia, Amelia, just got another $5,000 out of Chloe. That should be enough to satisfy Ethan's bookie for this month and keep him quiet. We need to be more careful. This is a temporary solution to a temporary problem. We just need to manage this until my portfolio recovers and we can make Ethan whole again. The world tilts on its axis, and I have to grip my table to keep from falling. This wasn't just casual entitlement. This wasn't just thoughtlessness or disrespect. This was a deliberate, systematic, long-term conspiracy to defraud me. They weren't just taking from me to fund their lavish lifestyle. They were using me as a secret, illegal slush fund to cover up my brother-in-law's criminal addiction, all to protect their precious family image. The root of it all wasn't just greed. It was shame, their shame. And they had decided that my entire financial security and future was an acceptable price to pay to keep their secrets buried. Any lingering shred of sentimentality, any vestige of filial duty, any microscopic particle of love I still felt for them, is utterly vaporized in that moment of horrifying clarity. This is no longer about setting boundaries. This is about justice. This is about war. I sit with the evidence for 2 full days. I don't eat. I don't sleep. I just read the emails over and over again, the words burning themselves into my brain. Like a brand, we can't bleed her dry. She always falls for that one. A temporary solution. The old Chloe would have printed everything out. She would have called a dramatic family meeting, a summit of betrayal. She would have laid the proof on my mother's polished dining room table and demanded they look at it. She would have screamed and cried and collapsed, waiting for an apology that would never have come. But I am not the old Chloe. That version of me died when I read my father's email. I know now that a direct confrontation would only give them the opportunity to do what they do best: lie, deflect, and gaslight me one last, spectacular time. Jessica is a bitter ex-wife. Chloe, she doctored those emails. How could you believe her over your own family, after everything we've done for you? I can hear the script already. I refuse to be an actress in their final play, so I choose a different strategy, one that is silent, precise, and utterly devastating. A strategy that bypasses their emotional games entirely and goes straight for the foundations of their world. First, I go back to the family group chat, which has been dormant for weeks. I attach the invoice again, and then, one by one, I attach every single document Jessica sent me. The bank statements showing the gambling payments, the emails between Amelia and Ethan, the email between my parents. I add a single sentence, a cold, hard declaration. My previous invoice for $21,650 is attached. For context, I have also attached documentation of the multi-year conspiracy to defraud me in order to cover up Ethan's gambling debts. I expect full repayment within 15 days. My lawyer, whose information you will receive shortly, is now on retainer. I hit send. Then, with a feeling of profound finality, I tap on the group chat settings, and I press exit and delete group. I watch it vanish from my phone forever. My second move is more subtle and far more lethal. My father, Robert, has spent his entire 40-year career cultivating an image as a pillar of the community, a man of unimpeachable ethics. He's a senior vice president at a major national insurance firm, a company whose entire brand is built on trust and integrity. He's up for a lucrative promotion to the board of directors. I compose a new email. The recipient is the anonymous ethics and compliance tip line for his company's human resources department, an address I find after 10 minutes of searching on their corporate website. I attach the single most damning piece of evidence, the email from my father to my mother, the one where he, a senior financial executive, explicitly admits to a scheme of defrauding his own daughter to pay off his son-in-law's criminal gambling debts. My cover letter is short, professional, and chillingly anonymous, to whom it may concern. I am an outside party who has come into possession of this document. Regarding the personal financial conduct of Senior Vice President Robert Evans, I believe it speaks for itself regarding his character, judgment, and fitness for a leadership position on your board. Please consider this for your due diligence. I send it from a newly created, anonymous, untraceable email address. No drama, no screaming match. Just a quiet, digital arrow, tipped with truth, aimed directly at the heart of the one thing he values more than his money, more than his family. His pristine, carefully crafted reputation. The fallout, from what I hear through the grapevine via Jessica, is catastrophic. My email to the family detonated a bomb that shattered their fragile alliances. Amelia and Ethan's marriage, already built on a foundation of secrets and lies, imploded. He's apparently in a long-term rehab facility now, and she is filing for divorce. The anonymous tip to my father's company triggered a quiet but swift internal investigation. He wasn't fired. That would have been too public, too messy. But his promotion to the board was rescinded. He was quietly and permanently sidelined, a man whose carefully crafted image had been irrevocably tarnished from within. Faced with a potential lawsuit from me and their own financial ruin, they were forced to sell the large family home I grew up in to pay me back and settle their own considerable debts. Meanwhile, my life has blossomed in the scorched earth of their downfall. I committed to therapy. I learned to unpack a lifetime of conditioning. I learned to identify my own needs. I learned that my value as a human being is not dependent on my usefulness to others. I learned that no is a complete sentence, not the start of a negotiation. I started dating a man named Leo. He's a high school history teacher. He's kind and funny and thoughtful, and he respects my boundaries without me ever having to defend them. When I told him, months into our relationship, a sanitized version of my family's story, he didn't offer solutions. He just listened. And then he said, "I'm so sorry that happened to you. You deserved better." It was that simple. For the first time, I felt truly seen. I took the money from the original Maui tickets, the nearly $5,000, and I booked a trip for myself. A solo trip to Costa Rica. I spent 10 days hiking in the rainforest, reading on the beach, and sleeping for 10 hours a night without the weight of the world on my shoulders. I swam in the ocean and realized I didn't need their permission to go to paradise. I could take myself. About a year after it all happened, a lifetime ago. I'm walking to my car after my shift when I hear a voice call my name, a voice I haven't heard in person for 12 months. Chloe, I turn. It's my mother. I almost don't recognize her. She looks smaller, older. The forced, brittle brightness is gone from her eyes, replaced by a dull, resentful exhaustion. She's not the powerful matriarch anymore. She's just a sad, older woman. Your father and I sold the house, she says, without preamble, as if we had just spoken yesterday. We're moving into a smaller condo over in Northridge. I heard, I say, my voice calm and neutral. She fumbles in her designer purse probably, one of the last vestiges of her old life, and pulls out a checkbook. She scribbles something out, her hand slightly shaking, and rips out the check. This is the last of it, she says, holding it out to me, her hand trembling slightly. The last of what we owed you. I look at the check in her hand. I look at her face. I am searching for something. A glimmer of remorse. A flicker of an apology. An acknowledgement of the profound, years-long betrayal. There is nothing. Only the weary bitterness of someone who has been forced to pay a bill they don't believe they should have owed. In her eyes, I am still the villain of this story, and in that moment, I realize the final, liberating truth. My freedom was never going to come from her apology. My healing was never dependent on her remorse. My liberation was complete the moment I disputed that first charge. The moment I chose myself, I take the check from her hand. Our fingers don't touch. Thank you, I say politely, my voice even, as if concluding a simple business transaction. I never cash it. The next day, I go to my bank. I endorse the entire amount, the final payment for years of my life, over to the nursing scholarship fund at my local community college. It's a fund for young people who are trying to build a life for themselves, a life of caring for others, but on their own terms. The money won't fix my past, but maybe it can help build someone else's future. My name is Chloe Evans. I am a nurse. I am a friend. I am a partner. I am a woman who traveled to Costa Rica alone. I am many things, but what I am not anymore is a safety net. I am not a shock absorber. I am not a secret slush fund. I am not the person who gets left behind so that others can take a trip. I am the one who finally took the trip, and the destination was my own life.